Hey guys, we are going to talk about our book, If You Could Go to Antarctica. I hope you've enjoyed this book today because it's a lot like what we have outside our houses today too. It is so cold and it's so icy and snowy. Well, in Antarctica, as you've learned, it's even colder and even icier, if you can believe it. Well, today we are going to talk about some of our amazing words, and then you're going to listen for those words in the story. So our first word is this word, continent. Now I'm going to turn over to the page in our story that has the big map. You remember seeing this page? So all these big groups of land are called continents. Well, this one down here is the continent that's at the very bottom of the earth. Now, what do you notice is different about this one than the rest of them? Yeah, these big continents are yellow, but what about this one? Yeah, it's like a grayish, whitish color. Why do you think that is? That's right, it's because this is a huge piece of land that's made of mostly ice. Well, this big continent has a name. Can you guess its name? Antarctica. That's our next amazing word. This big continent down here is called Antarctica. Well, our next amazing word is something you find in Antarctica. Icebergs. If you turn over in our book, we can read about it. It says, if you could go to Antarctica, you might see chunks of snowy ice breaking off, falling into the sea. These floating shapes are called icebergs. They crash like thunder as they split from the ice shelf. So what that means is that, see this big, what looks like a big mountain up here, and it's covered in snow and ice? Well, all along here is big pieces of ice, and sometimes they break off and they float in the water. You see there's one here and there's one right here. Those are the big chunks of ice that are floating in the water. Those are the icebergs. Well, our next amazing word we talked about yesterday. Penguins. Remember what we learned about penguins? See all these guys? All of those things on there are penguins. Notice the grown-up penguins or the adult penguins look like this. White, black, with some yellow and an orange beak. Well, do you know why these guys are brown and fuzzy? That's because they're the babies. They don't have their grown-up feathers yet. They have little fuzzy brown feathers. And then remember yesterday we talked about their thick layers of oily feathers. I hope you guys had a chance to get out some oil and feel how slick and slimy it is. Makes that water roll right off of them. Well, we also read about seals. Remember, seals have something special that God gave them. They have a thick layer of fat called blubber, and that helps to keep them warm in Antarctica. Here's a little seal up here. Well, the last amazing word we have is whales. This is that big giant whale that's jumping out of the water. Well, after you get done with your reading lesson, if you want to, I have a challenge for you. I want you, if you can, to measure how big a whale is. We can find it right here. Humpback whales are huge but acrobatic animals. They can be 50 feet long. Wow. See if you can measure how long 50 feet is, and that's how long these big whales are. All right, those are our amazing words. Whales, seals, and penguins were all the animals we read about. Icebergs are those big chunks of floating ice in the water. Antarctica is the name of the setting of our story. And continent is the big piece of land. Now listen to our story and see if you can find those words.